What is poppin', guys? I am Ashley the Cat, and I am your Pickems analyst for the APA Wi-Fi Season 2. So I'm very excited to be doing this role. I think it's got a good league. All these teams are very good, and from what I've seen, a lot of very competent battlers. And I'm very excited to be trying to pick the best out of them. Before we get started, I would like to say a huge shout out to Dan K Memes for hooking me up with these awesome graphics. I know that they're not for me specifically, they're for the league, but dear lord, these slides are gorgeous. And also shout out to Midicus for putting the slides together for me based on my picks, seeing as I've yet to procure a copy of Photoshop. So we're just going to go through each of these matchups one by one, talking about more in depth about my picks. You'll also see Kyle's picks, but I don't have his reasoning behind his picks. He is the game of the week analyst, so he's a little bit more focused on that. But you know, half the fun of Pickems is the competition of it, so I wanted to have somebody to kind of go against. We're going to jump into our first game of the week here, which is one of our closer games in my opinion. We have the Charlotteville Charizards, coached by General Tarheel, against the Montreal X-Blouds and Nightor. So I think that the X-Blouds have the edge this week, as does Kyle, because we both voted that they would come through. The X-Blouds have Celesteela, Zygarde 50%, Florges, Mega Medicham, Roserade, Alolan Persian, Jellicent, Staraptor, Magmortar, Electrode, and Toxicroak. So the Charlotteville Charizards have Mega Scizor, Milotic, Gliscor, Entei, Gengar, Thundurus Eye, Serena, Druddigon, Greninja, Claydol, and Rabombi. So I think both of these teams are fairly evenly matched. Every one of their huge sweepers does have a wall counter for the most part, but I think that the X-Clouds have just a little bit of an edge. Their offensive presence with Zygarde, Mega Medicham, Staraptor, possibly Celesteela depending on the set, can really do a number against the Charlotteville Charizards. And the only offensive presences that he has that can really threaten Celesteela to a good amount are Entei and Thundurus Eye, possibly Gengar depending on the set. So I just think that Celesteela has such a good matchup here. It can be ran either offensively or defensively, and he has the keys built around Celesteela to make sure that it does what it needs to do to win the game. So both of us have voted in favor of the X-Blouds this week. Our second game is going to be the Dunfermline, coached by Jock, and the Boston Beedrills by Midicus. So I actually picked the Lanoons in this game, as did Kyle. And let me get their team up real quick. I'm sorry, I have a long list of my notes here. The Lanoons have Mega Gallade, Weavile, Skarmory, Haxorus, Kabutops, Decidueye, Gardevoir, Gastrodon, Yanmega, Silvally, and Type Null, which is interesting. Where the Beedrills have Tapu Fini, Excadrill, Hydreigon, Amoonguss, Mega Charizard Y, Umbreon, Regirock, Bronzong, Machamp, Manectric, and Drifblim. So when I look at these teams, I think that Skarmory walls a good bit of everything not named Charizard Y. And I think he's got some good answers, like if he can get a good Silvally type, or possibly a Haxorus with some high speed. Lots of different options. He doesn't have any true beats all counter to Mega Charizard Y, but it does have a lot of good options to take it out with coverage moves on mons that are very strong that it can't exactly break through that easily, such as Mega Gallade, Haxorus, and Gardevoir. Even though that Heat Wave or something might do a large chunk of change, as well as Gastrodon, although it is 4 times weak to Solar Beam. So I just think that overall having Mega Gallade and Weavile with Haxorus is very strong. It breaks down a lot of their team. The only thing I would really worry about is Tapu Fini, but with no reliable recovery on that, you can definitely break that down and do the work that you need to do. He doesn't have a very good sand option for Excadrill, so that thing is going to have to be Choice Scarfed if it wants to outspeed any of these threats, which severely hinders it because he's got some pretty good switch-ins to basically anything that Excadrill wants to throw out. Hydreigon is a great bring this week, but again, you've got mons like Skarmory, which can do a little bit if it's Choice Scarfed, and some things that are in a good position to revenge kill it, as well as this team is severely hampered if the Lanoons decide to start using Parting Shot on Silvally or Type Null. So I think the Looners had just the edge they needed to bring out. This is another close one in terms of the match ahead, so it really could go either way. Our next game that we're going to talk about is Point Blank and the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise against Cresselia K and the Adelaide Umbreons. So I picked the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise, as did Kyle. We're pretty much in sync at this point. The Winnipeg Blue Blastoise have Manaphy, Latios, Shaman, Arcanine, Buzzswole, Aromatisse, Drapion, Raichu, Uxie, Seismitoad, and Mega Steelix, while the Umbreons have Salamence, Scizor, Clefable, Hitmontop, Nidoqueen, Porygon 2, Mega Slowbro, Chandelure, and Sneasel. So I think Mega Slowbro is going to be huge in this match, basically walling out in a lot of his team, not named Raichu and Shaman, but it has to do a lot of work. It has to stop Manaphy, it has to stop Latios, it has to stop Arcanine and Buzzswole, and as bulky as Mega Bro is, it's hard to have it be the only counter on your team. Yes, he's got Clefable for things like Latios and Buzzswole, which definitely helps a lot, and he's got Unaware to prevent against setup Manaphy. But I just don't think that the walls that he has do a well enough job of neutering the threats that the Blastoise have. Whereas the Blastoise they can run a bulky Shaman, they have Arcanine, which can be ran defensively, Aromatisse is very defensive, Uxie is a fantastically defensive Pokemon, as well as Seismitoad, and even Latios, if you really want to, can be run a little bit more on the special defensive side. So I just think that while the Umbreons have a great team and do have a fighting chance in this game, I just don't see them matching the pressure of the Blastoise and asserting the type of offensive pressure that they need to. I feel like they'll have to pick one or the other. And when you don't have both, it's a lot harder to win games, especially in the league format. So that pretty much explains why both of us decided to opt for the Blastoise winning this week. Now our next game is another one that we agree on, being the Numigen Nuzleafs by Automathic and Orlando City Orperiors by D-Pad Gamers. So I picked the Nuzleafs this week because let's take a look at their teams before I talked about why I picked them. The Nuzleafs have Jirachi, Latios, Mega Pidgeot, Vaporeon, Blissey, Mandibuzz, Breloom, Salazzle, Gramble, Rhyperior, and Electabuzz. Whereas the Serperiors have Mega Swampert, Pelipper, Kingdra, Heliolisk, Ludicolo, Serperior, Mimikyu, Mineshow, Politoed, Armaldo, and Beartic. So as you can see, they have a very strong rain team. And if you look at things like Vaporeon and Blissey and Breloom and Latios, they fare very, very well against rain. The only problem I really see for all of that would be Kingdra, because Kingdra does get coverage to take down the Latios. But overall, rain just does not match up against a team with Vaporeon. Even with Heliolisk, he has good switch-ins with Rhyperior, Electabuzz. Jirachi can take some electric-type attacks. Blissey is a fantastic special wall that's going to pretty much neuter Serperior and Heliolisk severely. So I think this matchup is very, very much so in the Nuzleaf side. They just perform very well against rain. And seeing as this team doesn't have a rain option, it is a rain team, I definitely foresee a little bit of issues when it comes to that. So our next game is the first where we actually differed in our opinion. This is the Seattle Serperiors with Lindamar versus the Montreal Monfernos with H's here. So I personally picked the Monfernos, while Kyle picked the Seattle Serperiors. So let's go ahead and take a look at their teams real quick. The Monfernos are rocking a team of Mega Kangaskhan, Deoxys Speed, Dragonite, Alolan Muck, Dugtrio, Sylveon, Registeel, Delmise, Vikavolt, Mantine, and Pyroar, while the Serperiors are bringing Landorus T, Alolan Ninetales, Necrozma, Cobalion, Tentacruel, Rotom Heat, Mega Tyranitar, Gourgeist, Exploud, Excelgor, and Como-O. So, looking at this team, I personally think that the Monfernos have a very good offensive presence to kind of beat down. The Aurora Veil is nice, but with a mon like Mega Kangaskhan that has the ability to run things like Seismic Toss and Wish and things like that, that constant damage through the Aurora Veil is too nice, honestly. With Cobalion being really the main threat against Kangaskhan, seeing as it's, and Como-O as well, since that's his fighting type answers. Deoxys Speed is also great for setting up hazards. He does have a spinner in Tentacruel, as well as a spin blocker in Gourgeist, but the lack of a defogger here really is going to hurt, because Deoxys Speed gives you the ability to lay up all these hazards. He's got Alolan Muck for pursuit trapping and trying to handle things like Necrozma, which, if it sets up, could definitely pose a huge problem to this team. But as long as you can prevent that from setting up, I think that this is a fairly good matchup. Dragonite, with its coverage moves, looks pretty good in this matchup, because as long as you can accurately kind of predict what they're going to bring, you can do a great job of mitigating that with its coverage. Dugtrio is going to be nice for trapping things like Cobalion in order to let the Mega Kangaskhan flourish the way that it should, as well as maybe getting Rotom Heat if it can run Stone Edge. I know it's not, no one likes to bank on running Stone Edge, but it's definitely an option if you want to trap that Rotom Heat as well. So I think that just the Monfernos have a better matchup, and it's nice to see that we're not toe for toe as far as the analyst goes here. There's going to be one of us with a lead by the end of this, so that's it would be boring if we just picked all the same things every week, you know. But that's my judgment. I think that while the Superiors definitely have a shot to win with their setup Mons, as long as the Monfernos don't allow them to set up, I think that they do have a distinct advantage. So we're going to transition into our next game, which is the Colorado Rapidash, led by Moonlight Swami, against the Buffalo Buzzswoles, coached by Bandit Caterpie. So this is a match where we are in agreement on again. We both picked the Buffalo Buzzswoles. Let's take a look at the team. The Buzzswoles have Mega Lopunny, Tangrowth, Zapdos, Kyurem, Heatran, Slowking, Komala, Meloetta, Piloswine, Spiritomb, and Chinchou. While the Colorado Rapidash have Tapu Koko, Conkeldurr, Goodra, Galvantula, Mega Gyarados, Kartana, Mesprit, Slurpuff, Darmanitan, Sandslash, and Dusknoir. So the reason I picked the Buzzwole is that I think that Mega Lopunny does a lot of work with its coverage against a lot of this team, as well as Slowking is a great wall for Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr would have a pretty good time with this team, seeing all the fighting weaknesses in Kyurem, Heatran, Mega Lopunny, and Piloswine. But Mons like Spiritomb and Slowking and Zapdos do a great job of walling Conkeldurr for the most part. So Conkeldurr is, in my opinion, the biggest threat for this team, and it is fairly neutered by more than one wall, so he has options on how to build this team. I think Tapu Koko could be a bit of an issue, seeing as the ground type is going to be Piloswine, but with Chip and things of that nature, I think that the Buzzwole do have a distinct advantage here. I think that Mega Lopunny is going to have a great time in this game. I think that Tangrowth is going to be a great utility mon in this game, and I really think this one is heavily in the Buzzwole's favor, to be honest. I think that he's got enough good switch-ins to patch up the weaknesses this matchup might have, whereas the main sweeper on the Rapidash, being the Conkeldurr and the Darmanitan, don't really flourish here as well as they would in other matchups. So we have both heavily sided with the Buzzwoles for that game. Let's take a look at our next game, being the New York Cosmogs versus the Carolina Clefables. Now this is another one that we differed on a little bit with our opinion. The New York Cosmogs are coached by Phantom Bass, while the Carolina Clefables are coached by Panther 2. So we'll go ahead and look at the team. The Clefables are rocking a team of Kyurem Black, Mega Gardevoir, Suicune, Crocodile, Crobat, Cofagrius, Hitmonchan, Volcarona, Omastar, Magnezone, and Virizion, while the Cosmogs are bringing Mew, Infernape, Donphan, Mega Aerodactyl, Empoleon, Jolteon, Comfey, Scolipede, Guzzlord, Licky, and Tangela. And I'm not going to lie, after rereading through these teams a little bit and thinking of it, I do think that the Cosmogs have an advantage here as far as just team matchup goes. I'm going to be honest. They have lots of setup mons or just straight breakers like Kyurem Black and Mega Gardevoir with the ability to set up with Suicune and Volcarona. This is a very well put together team. But the reason I think that the that the Cosmogs have a bit of an edge this week is because I feel like Mew can do a good job of walling a lot of these things, as well as Mega Aerodactyl being a great counter to Volcarona, as well as a couple of other things like Crobat, Hitmonchan. A lot of his support mons, as well as Volcarona, can be handled by Mega Aerodactyl. And Polion does a pretty good job of walling Kyurem Black if it's not running Freeze Try. And he's got some bulk on the team as well with Licky and Tangela. So I think that with the right wall sets, Scolipede and Infernape with Mega Aerodactyl and Jolteon could do a lot of work. And if you could possibly pass some speed into that Guzzlord, that could do a fair bit of work here as well, except against Mega Gardevoir. So I just liked the matchup. I do like the matchup in favor of Cleveland, but I think with smart play, the Cosmogs can come away with this. And seeing as how we have a couple of games where we all agree, you know, someone has to pick different to move ahead. So I decided to put my faith in the Cosmogs this week. So I hope that they don't let me down. I have lots of faith. You can do it. So finally, we're going to transition into our last game of the day. This is going to be the Chelsea Cloisters, coached by Dan K. Memes, versus the Sleeping Snorlax, coached by Laximus Black. So we have both gone in favor of the Snorlax this week. The Cloisters have Garchomp, Togekiss, Ferrothorn, Mega Blastoise, Reuniclus, Miltank, Cloyster, Alolan Marowak, Electros, Scrafty, and Nidoking, while the Snorlax have Victini, Snorlax, Mamoswine, Lantern, Tapu Bulu, Mega Heracross, Venomoth, Metagross, Noivern, Rhydon, and Fortress. So, the reason I personally like the Slowkings in this game is I feel like their main sweeper being Garchomp is not nearly as effective in this game. It can be walled by Snorlax with the right set. It can be walled by Tapu Bulu with the right set. It can be walled by Noivern. It can't be walled by Noivern, but it can very easily be revenge killed by Noivern. And its other offensive threats just aren't fast enough or intimidating enough to counter what the Slowkings are bringing. Like Scrafty, even with some DDs up, can't really do much to the likes of Tapu Bulu or Victini. Because Victini, because Scrafty's very slow, even with one Dragon Dance up, you could easily make a Victini outspeed. That does pressure the Snorlax a little bit, but looking at the team, that's the only thing that counters the Snorlax very well. Unless you're trying to outbulk it with mons like Ferrothorn and Reuniclus and Miltank, which even a Belly Drum set will absolutely shred. So I think that the Slowkings definitely have a distinct advantage, just solely for the fact that the main sweeper for the Cloisters is countered so heavily by this team. Garchomp can be taken out by an Ice Shard from Mamoswine. It can be taken out Tapu Bulu. I just really think that the offensive pressure put on by the Slowkings is too much for the Cloisters' defensive core to handle, and that the offensive core for the Cloisters just does not match up that well at all against the Snorlax. So I don't doubt Dan's battling ability at all. I do definitely think he could pull it out and win this one, but definitely overall I think that the Snorlax have a distinct advantage, and Kyle agrees. So that is all for the week 1 of Pickems. Again, I'm very excited to be here, and y'all can be looking forward to these once a week. These should be uploading on Fridays, every Friday, so that is a scheduled upload. And next week, we'll go over real quick the picks that we had and talk about where we got wrong and what we were right on. But that's really all I have to say for this week. Thank y'all for stopping by. Let me know in the comments what you think about some of my picks, or even if you want to post your picks, let me know. If there's enough interest of people posting their picks for the week based off of these videos, I might add in a little section at the end for the fans, just depending on contribution and everything, of course. So go ahead and like and comment, subscribe, all that bullshit. You know how it goes. And I will see you guys next Friday. Have a great day.